FSU Pistols and Pies starts right now. Here's Jeff Cameron.
The Seminole Headlines 93.3 Real Talk Radio Warchant TV begins right now. There's Corey. There's Ira. I'm Jeff. Let's do the weekly check that takes place, especially as we're moving parts. Corey, you start.
Corey Clark talking into a microphone.
There it is. All the way. Boy, technology is amazing, guys.
It is.
And there you are, loud and clear, buddy. We're all good to go. And that'll lead me to say thanks for being here, everybody. And sausage. There we go.
Well done. Well done.
Yeah.
I don't know if you saw on social media, Registers had a big presence in Chicago.
Yeah.
They were trying to take over up there. They saw some different pictures of the Register sausage banner, which I don't know. We have a banner.
We should have a banner.
We should get a banner, or at least like get our pictures made with the banner. The banner shows up everywhere now. It was in Chicago. And
the banner should be the three of us.
You know what? Now you're talking.
Yeah, the three of us instead of a Seminole Headlines. It's just a Register sausage or both.
Right.
It's like it's all in one. It's we're the total package.
Registers was on location. And you can have Register sausage, all the different varieties, the andouille, which we all love.
Delicious.
Throw it in the jambalaya or different recipes. Somebody tweeted at us the other day that they got their pack in the mail because I think they won the Guess the Score contest from North Carolina.
North Carolina, okay.
Which means they must not have a great outlook about this football team.
No, I wonder what they guessed for Notre Dame.
Yeah, I know. But anyway, and he was like, so what's the best way to cook it? And he's like, on the grill. I was like, yeah, man. But there's not really a wrong answer. We've done it all way. You do it in the oven, on the frying pan, on the grill, whatever you want. It's all delicious. And you can have it if you go to registermeats.com, or in this part of the country, go to your local grocery store and, demand it nicely. That's our approach is demand it, but with, some class.
Corey, when was the last time you broiled something?
I don't know that I ever have.
You know what broiling is?
It's kind of boiling, but different.
No.
It's like the highest temperature in the oven.
Yeah.
Like you're like super hot in the oven.
Yeah.
Highest.
Yeah. Then there's no, so like to 500 degrees, there's no chance. I've never done it. No.
I gotta tell you something. The secrets of broiling, it'll change your life. Broiling is fantastic.
My dad was a big broiler back in the day.
I suddenly discovered the broiling.
What show is this?
I know.
Dude, we're covering a 1-9 football.
You want us to race to the stuff
with half a coaching staff.
Yeah.
Playing Charleston Southern is 1-10. Yeah. Somebody's got to win a second game.
So let's get back to broiling. Which, let me tell you right off the bat here, it'll change your life. I broiled by accident about 3 weeks ago, and now I'm a broiling fool.
You can't broil everything.
No, but I try. I'm broiling all kinds. I'm not thinking about Florida State. I'm thinking about what can I broil next. It's really, really freeing, guys. It's unbelievable.
What do you want to talk about, Corey?
We could talk about, I did want to get your, not the Falcons. God bless. Y'all's thoughts on what would you prefer defensive coordinator wise? What kind of resume would you like to have? Because you could have the up and comer from a smaller school. You could have a position coach from a bigger school. What's y'all's philosophy?
Can I start by giving you some grief?
I mean, by all means, Ira. It wouldn't be a Seminole Headlines if you didn't give me grief about one of the million things I say.
I wanted to know where the pivot became, because you have the column that we ran on the website a couple of days ago, or maybe yesterday. Just saying that you want to see somebody with some big chops from a big name schools. You're in line with Peter Boulware. Peter Boulware tweeted over the weekend he doesn't want to see an up and comer. He wants somebody with some chops. But I could have swore on Wake Up Warchant, the fast rising Wake Up Warchant, that you were pimping the Cade Bell guy who was like at Western Carolina a year ago.
Oh no, that was
when did this switch go from the young up and comer scores a lot of points somewhere, we don't care where, to now you want these veteran coaches.
He is at an ACC school, but also that was before what I saw his goal line offense against Clemson. And then I'm like, no, that's a hard pass. It really, honestly, it was watching I said it on Wake Up. It was watching the Georgia-Tennessee game. And just that amount of talent, that amount of athleticism, the high level of play. It's like there's no reason Florida State shouldn't have guys that look like that and play like that on both sides of the ball. And I just want guys that have been around those types of dudes more. That's where I was already starting that pivot, but watching that game being like, okay, no offense to my man, I like talking to him for the last half decade. Is Adam Fuller reeling in those kind of guys from the high school level? Is he? Was he? Did he ever? And do you need somebody that's been around him more?
That's not a new thing. That's not a new.
I know.
I mean, listen, let me ask you a question, how you're defining it, because do you think okay, Santucci at Georgia Tech is an up-and-coming guy who's been at Texas A&M. Obviously, he's had success. He's somebody that I like a lot, but I don't know if he falls under that umbrella.
You know, it's funny, though. Like, every single guy, you look at their resume, and you can see it one of two different ways.
Yeah.
Santucci's a great example in the sense that, yeah, man, he's been at Texas A&M. I think he was at Notre Dame briefly.
He was at Notre Dame. He was at Duke.
But it was all with Elko. Like, he was Elko's sidekick,
right,
for most of his career. Now he is calling the shots. But when he was Duke's DC the last few years, you didn't know, is that really him or is that Elko? This year, now at Georgia Tech, he actually, is calling the defense.
Right.
And they've had some really good moments. I thought they looked pretty good against Florida State. Although it turns out they gave up a season high 21.
I was gonna say, I don't know.
They got
disqualified. I don't know if I'd cite that one.
Yeah.
They got embarrassed.
At the time, we felt like it was a pretty good plan. In hindsight, what were you doing, Tyler?
Yeah.
But but to your point, otherwise, I mean, he's a young guy that's been around some big programs. Obviously, being at Texas A&M for years, the way they were recruiting at Texas A&M, he's been around, recruiting big time players. I think that would be, to me, there is a topic of conversation there about not just being able to recruit players at that level, but being able to coach the elite players, and you
got to get them.
This staff did it when, Jared Verse is an elite player. Braden Fisk is an elite player, but they weren't necessarily elite their whole lives in terms of how people viewed them.
Certainly not.
And treated them.
That's how they ended up at Albany and Western Michigan.
So then, that's another part of it, is relating to those guys. And so there's a lot of different layers to it.
I think it's a very difficult and nuanced discussion every time. I can see your point, Corey, and you'd want the biggest names in the business that would cause kids to turn heads and think maybe that Florida State's about to switch back to what they once were. They've got some of the biggest names in the business. Other times you look around the country and you see somebody having great success and you start down that path and wonder where the hell that guy come from. And it turns out for 9 years, nobody had ever heard of him. He had just been slowly matriculating his way up the ladder. Like, to me, on the one hand, do we all agree that Elko's a really good defensive coach?
Yes.
Okay, I think we all do, right? Well, he's had that guy with him two different stops. Why would he do it?
And took him with him.
Took him with him. Like, he wouldn't think he's a dumbass, right? So it's not about the acumen. I don't think we think that these guys are all stupid. It is a nice balance between understanding, teaching, but also recruiting. You've got to be able to get players, and clearly Mike's staff failed in the high school ranks to consistently get the best players that Florida State should bring in.
Couple more decommitments, by the way. Anyway, go ahead.
They have some more. Who are the other decommitments?
The offensive lineman, Daniel Pierre-Louis, believe he flipped, and then they're saying in the chat that Kevin Wynn also flipped to South Carolina.
That's a toughie. That's a toughie.
But that one's one they've been expecting that. That was kind of like the last month when the other stud defensive lineman decommitted.
Yeah,
everybody was like, "Why is Kevin Wynn staying around?" And now he's decommitted as well.
Yeah, and I think with the coordinator position, I don't know how much they have to be great recruiters, however you envision that to be, whatever you deem that to be. They have to have a track record, man, of not only putting up big numbers, but working with big-time talent, in my opinion, when you come to Florida State. And I think Mike Norvell, if we look in hindsight 5 years later about this coaching staff that he put together, and again, I grant you, and I said this in the column, I wrote it in the column, I grant you, I wasn't writing this a year ago when they were undefeated. Thought it was a great staff. But in hindsight, it wasn't a staff that apparently could sustain any level of great success. I mean, they just put together the worst team in our lifetimes at Florida State. So
I don't think you thought it was a great staff.
I was about to say, when were we arguing that this was a great staff?
It was a staff that produced a 13-0 football team. So it wasn't obvious a detriment to the program. But when you look at who he brought in, a guy from Charlotte, guy from Memphis, his QB coach was the tight ends coach of Memphis, guys from TCU and on Maryland, like not horrible programs necessarily, but not big time stuff. And I just think that, like, it's not like they have to get a big name defensive coordinator. I don't think they're going to go get the Notre Dame OC or the Notre Dame DC, which I guess is Freeman. But go get somebody that's been in those programs. Because look at this staff as it's currently constructed. Other than Randy Shannon and Odell Higgins, who went to those schools, how many of these guys have been around championship level, high caliber football and football players that get a bunch of guys to the league? That's what I think the next step could be, maybe.
I just want to correct one thing. The chat. So apparently Kevin Wynn has not officially decommitted yet. There's predictions out there.
Oh, they're all decommitted, buddy. Don't correct it. Don't worry about it. It's a matter of hours.
Depends on when you watch it.
Yeah. Maybe hour number 2, we'll get to the official decommit.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, man. I get what you're saying. But if you're going to get somebody from the kind of school you're talking about, then they probably haven't been a defensive coordinator, because if they're the defensive coordinator at that school,
they're not coming.
They're probably not making a lateral.
Can I clarify?
You're going with a position coach who's never been a coordinator, so now you're rolling the dice. It just seems like with all of these, there's going to be some element of rolling some dice.
And I mean to clarify, I'm not saying you're going to go get a DC from one of these schools. You could go get the OC from UNLV. Just make sure some of the position group guys, some of his coaches, have been at bigger schools. If you can do that, I don't want you. It can't just be another group of 5 coaching staff. That's all. Like that guy was at Texas for a year. He was at Pitt the year before that, and Coach Jordan Addison. He's got some nice stuff on his resume, and he might be an unbelievable coach. But you're going to need some guys that have been in the SEC or the Big Ten, in my opinion, to be on that staff with them. You can't just replenish a group of 5 staff with another group of 5 staff.
What's also interesting, it's kind of tangential, but I think it's kind of related also. I think it's kind of funny. Last night I was watching the Monday Night Football game.
You and me both.
And D'Amico Ryans, I was just looking back to his bio, like where he came up and all this. And one of the stories I found about him, it might have been on his Wikipedia page, where he talks about like the key to his success as a player, the guy he credits the most with him as a player was Joe Kynes. And Joe Kynes went to Alabama after being here and being hated by everybody at Florida State.
Yeah.
Like Buster Douglas quit the team, Buster Davis quit the team. Like all these, there was nobody that really loved Joe Kynes when he was here.
He had that voice, baby.
He did have that voice. He goes to Alabama, and then D'Amico Ryans is like, that's the guy. And now he's one of the hottest coaches in football, and he's, the guy he credit, so it's just weird. There's so much of a time and a place. Like, DeMarcus Walker loved Brad Lawing, but Brad Lawing didn't have other places a tremendous success.
No,
but it was just for that guy in that time. So that's the weird thing about assistant coaches. I just think that sometimes it's the right time, right fit, right chemistry, and I don't know if you can always predict it.
I also think, and Corey, I hear you. I think you also wrote in your column. See, I read it.
Nice.
You said, let's get, at the end of the day, the best coordinator available, right? Whoever the best is. Yeah, that's the hard part, to find that one, because how many times have the 3 of us watched a guy, to Ira's point, have huge success somewhere and fail somewhere else miserably, or vice versa? Go somewhere, become a guy that was given a lot of responsibility, fail miserably, fall out of the limelight because of those failures, only to show back up 8 years later. One day you're watching a game and you're like, oh, well, that's where so-and-so is. And look at him kicking ass. It's bizarre, because this is the industry. I do think it starts with Mike and figuring out where he went wrong, and Mike figuring out where Mike went wrong. You're going to have to obviously revamp this staff. He's in the process of doing it, and we'll see how many big names or middle of the road names or group of 5 or power 2, however you want to look at it, coaches he's able to bring in. But he's got to figure out how it is the disconnect happened with him and that team and this program, because 1-9 is never acceptable, even in this weird era of college football. And I assume he's doing that. None of us are going to know, no matter who he hires, whether or not this is going to be successful for 2 more years. I mean, at least like maybe next year. Maybe next year we see a huge flip to the tune of, I don't know what we'll call a success next year. When you go 2-10, I suppose anything over 500 would feel like a pretty big success. But I really don't know how we're going to judge this, other than Mike has to figure out what went wrong for Mike's program, because this is a disaster. And it's so many places to start at, and we all have an opinion on it. I'm just willing to admit I have no idea, but I know that this is not normal to lose it to this extent. It's just not normal.
Agreed. The focus to me, though, is, it's on players. I mean, at the end of the day, to me, because you can ask those questions about why did this coach work in this place or why did that work in that situation? A lot of times I think it's going to correlate to what kind of players they had. And I just think that, whether it's obviously it's going to have to be heavy through the portal, but it's also going to come from the high school ranks. But to me, it's about identifying those players, the best players you can getting them. And then I'm not, again, I'm not a huge development guy. I'm more about get players who can play and then put them in positions to succeed. I think development usually is the guys, the long shots, the guys you're bringing somebody in who you think has potential. Darion Williamson, Kentron Portier, those are developmental players. I'm talking about go get guys that can really play wherever they're at right now. To me, that's going to be the key. I mean, coaching, those guys get paid the most, man, but I think that's why, like Luke Fickell, I mean, can he not coach? Obviously he can coach. Their team stinks. He doesn't have the right players yet. I mean, there's just, you still look at how was Matt Rule successful at Baylor, but he hasn't been successful in Nebraska. I mean, it's just, there's so many things that go into it, but at the end of the day, if you got better players, you're probably going to win more games. So that's where I think the focus needs to be. So to me, it's getting coaches who can get you players.
That's exactly what I was going to say, is that, and that's also, we can't just limit, and I know you weren't doing this, the development and the evaluation aspect of it too. Like, that's why I keep coming back to the guys that have been around it. And I brought this up on Wake Up Warchant. You remember when Jimbo got here and he's like the only guy on this offense that could have played for me at LSU was Preston Parker. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
That was the only football player they had. I just kind of want people that can get to this current program and this roster and go, yeah, no, he doesn't belong. He doesn't belong. He's going to be a badass. He doesn't belong. Like somebody that's been around elite football for a while that can evaluate what it's supposed to look like and know how to coach that kind of talent too. Bring it in and coach it. But yeah, man, obviously the better you need to go get players. I think guys with track records will probably bring in better players. I really like the dude from UNLV, man. So I know I talk out of both sides of my mouth, but he's only been there for 2 years. But I like that offense. I like his story. I know that he has a connection with Norvell. I just, is he going to come if Norvell's not going to give him the offense? And is Norvell even interested in him? I have no idea.
Let's say he was. You think he can come in and get good players? See, yeah. I mean, that track record's not there yet either, is it?
Yeah, no, it would depend on who is like, yeah, but that's the issue, right? That's the issue.
You're going to have to educate people on looking at what he did over these 2 or 3 years, but you got to get to that point with the better players.
Right, because my point would be you hire him. Could be a great hire, Corey. Not debating that. Could be. He seems like he certainly knows what he's doing. Does he resonate with kids in the South? I have no idea. And if he doesn't, and in a hurry, they won't have those good players that I was talking about. And he could be a genius, and this team's going to suck. We're watching all of this play out. It is incredibly nuanced.
Yeah, and I guess when you look back at, and I don't know where we are in the process. I don't know if now is the time to be doing the postmortems on this staff. And Corey, I think your point about the staff up until this point was that Mike Norvell did not bring in a bunch of big name assistant coaches. He brought in guys he was comfortable with and liked. And I think he thought that they would build it over the long term. It wasn't like, again, Jimbo going to that point, and I think you guys talked about on Wake Up also, the staff he put together was to flip this roster. Like when Jimbo came, when he was an assistant coach, he's like, these guys can't play here. I need to flip this roster. So you bring in Eddie Grand, you bring in all those guys who are really good recruiters to flip James Coley, to flip the roster quickly. And then they end up changing the staff some. Norvell went a different way. He went with guys that would believe in his system and share the same vision and all that. And then they had success. It all worked out until last year, until it didn't work out. So now with the reboot, like which direction do you go? And
it helped that Jimbo was a really good recruiter himself.
Oh yeah. And he was on
and he was on the staff, and he had a head start. There was a lot going in his favor.
When Jimbo was at LSU, he recruited at Auburn, I believe. Also, I think he recruited South Florida. So it wasn't like a new guy coming into those high schools. So yeah, man. Again, I just think it's I don't know that there's any sure things, but it would be good to get some coordinators at least that have some name recognition, which would be helpful in terms of, bringing in, again, the portal guys, because the portal is the thing where you don't have time to develop. The 2025 recruiting class, man, is what it is. It's a bust. I mean, it's gonna not be a good class. So you got to really go hard in the portal and then focus on 2026. Those are your two classes that are going to make or break what Mike Norvell ends up doing here.
It'll be interesting to see how they go about getting, because if you're talking about a drastic overhaul of roster, which we all think is necessary now, off of a 2-10 campaign, those kids that are transferring in, have to take a leap of faith that how to get this turned around, and now because they're transferring in, they don't have much time to play. They want to let's go. We got to hit the ground running, and then while also hiring a staff that's going to be long term a success in recruiting the high school ranks, as well as obviously being a successful portal draw. It's going to be fascinating to see what he does. I do think that given how colossal this failure is, and speaks to some in some ways denouncing of the head coach by the players on the roster currently.
I don't think that's accurate.
Well, clearly they don't play for him at all. So you're going to have to find kids who will. And you may have some on this roster who are freshmen. We agree on that. Some of your more talented kids that maybe will continue to try hard. Let's hope that's the case. But you're going to have to find, 30, 40 new players elsewhere that are going to come in and be ready to play and hit the ground running? That's a lot.
I don't know if you need 30 or 40 that can play and hit the ground running, but you're going to have to bring in – you're going to end up having to bring in that many players between freshmen and transfers. But, yeah, I don't think you're going to need – 40 players barely playing a game as it is. You're not going to have a complete overhaul of everybody that plays on Saturdays.
I'd want to gut this roster as much as I could.
I think last year we added it up. It was like 43 new players with I think they had 17 transfers and whatever the class was, something like that. Yeah. I think you're looking at you're going to have 50 new players on the roster. Hopefully half of those guys can be in your rotation. Some of them are really good. December's going to be a mad dash.
How quickly, I know we got a break, how quickly do you think we hear the announcement about coaches when this season ends? You think we hear it before in any case?
I think, the best case scenario is probably word leaks out a day or two before the Florida game, but I wouldn't be surprised if
you mean firings or hirings?
Hirings.
Oh, yeah, I would think, maybe Friday before the Florida game it leaks out or something, I would think. But, Sunday, Monday, right after.
And could be later if they're in championship games.
Yeah, now it'll be interesting to see if he's able to draw guys that are actually in conference championship games and or playoff games in the future. Seminole Headlines, 93.3 Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV continues in a moment.
All right, about that time to upgrade my iPad and my Apple Gear. How much memory do I need? What upgrade should I get? What size screen? How many chargers do I need? USB-C, USB-D, mini USB, USB-B, ABC, 1, 2, 3?
If only there was a local business that can guide you and help you understand what you need and get you the best pricing possible. Oh, wait, that's what they do at Mac & More Systems. Get help buying the right gear for the right price and have it shipped directly to their store for pickup, all at no extra cost. That's the kind of service you won't get at any big box store. Shop local at Mac & More Systems. Find out more online at macandmoresystems.com.
I'm attorney Dana Brooks with Basic Brooks Law Offices, and we believe you. Now, what does that mean? Over and over, we hear from the people we represent that when they share their story of how they were injured, either law enforcement, insurance companies, or business owners just didn't believe them. That's why you need an attorney who has your back, no matter what. An attorney who starts by believing you're telling the truth. We're Basic Brooks, and we believe you. Let's talk. 850-777-7777.
This month, new Titan trucks have 0% financing for 60 months and get up to $8,000 off. Plus, with the best warranty in America, 5 years or 100,000 miles bumper to bumper, it might just be the best truck deal in America and only at Kraft Nissan.
Whidden Glass has been taking care of business since 1945. When you call Whidden Glass, you're dealing with experienced, reliable professionals who offer only the best, like Whidden's top-of-the-line bath enclosures that provide style and luxury at an affordable price. Eye-catching storefronts are a specialty at Whidden Glass. We'll help you design it and install it. Whidden Glass, the first name in glass replacement. Call 222-5781.
There's fun to be had every night at the Corner Pocket. Take home prizes on Trivia Tuesdays and Beer Bingo Thursdays. And kickstart your weekend with Martini Fridays. Plus, happy hour runs every weekday and game day specials every time the Noles take the field. Watch all the best games at the Corner Pocket's Vegas Wall, featuring 560 inches of flat screen TV heaven.
Oh, really?
The best food, the best drinks, and the best place to watch all the games. Tallahassee loves the Corner Pocket.
Know your body and transform your life with DexaFit Tallahassee, your go-to for science-backed health insights. Their DEXA scan gives you the most accurate body composition available, measuring bone density, muscle mass, and both subcutaneous and visceral fat. Get the data you need to track progress and make real changes. Your VO2 max is the best indicator of health and longevity, but it offers more than just a number. It shows respiratory function, calories burned at different intensities, and whether your body burns fat or carbs, helping you train smarter. DexaFit's RMR test reveals how many calories you burn at rest and the type of fuel your body uses, so you can dial in your diet for weight loss, muscle gain, or maintenance. And their red light therapy soothes sore muscles, reduces inflammation, and rejuvenates your skin. Right now, get a DEXA scan and red light therapy for just $99. That's a $184 value. Call 850-510-7728 or visit DexaFit Tallahassee's website to book. Know your body and transform your life this fall with DexaFit.
Life is stressful. Dinner shouldn't be. That motto is why Register Sausage has been doing business in the Florida Panhandle and Lower Alabama for over 75 years. A proud sponsor of Seminole Headlines, Register Sausage always provides the best Southern smoked sausage to over 140 grocery stores and restaurants throughout the Southeast. Headliners have discovered the Register's difference. You can too. To find a store that carries Registers near you or to buy directly, head to registermeats.com. That's registermeats.com. Register Sausage. Yay, sausage!
Seminole Headlines returns now. Head to YouTube and search for Warchant TV today to catch the show live or on demand. Now, here's Jeff Cameron, Ira Schofel, and Corey Clark.
Would you guys largely look to, well, I shouldn't say largely. Given the direction of the game, would you look if they were interested at NFL coaches more than ever before?
It's a tough call, man. Partially, I mean, like on the surface, it makes sense to say yeah, because the game is changing, recruiting's changing. It's
players paid.
It's kind of going more towards an NFL model. I don't know, man. I've seen it go both ways. I think it can help in recruiting sometimes. For example, when Herm Edwards was at Arizona State, they got Jaden Daniels originally, and like they had a bunch of big-time recruits, Johnny Wilson. They had a bunch of big-time recruits, and their pitch was, we have an NFL coaching staff. Well, then they broke every NCAA rule imaginable, all got fired, and then those players all scattered elsewhere.
Right.
So now we could say that there aren't as many rules as there used to be, but, there's probably a balance there. I don't think it's a bad thing. I think, when you see Jason Taylor on Miami staff or Warren Sapp on Colorado staff, it doesn't hurt. I just don't know if you can build your staff around it. I wouldn't be opposed to one or two guys, but I don't know about a whole staff. What do you think?
Yeah, I don't think you do a whole staff, but I think, you could look at Colorado as a good example. Both their coordinators were in the NFL. Pat Shurmur was in the NFL for a long time. The guy that got to run their defense was the Bengals secondary coach for like 4 or 5 years. And they've turned it around they got players, but they also have guys they know can coach those types of players. I think it could be a nice balance. It wouldn't be necessarily something I absolutely have to do that I would be adamant about, but yeah, I certainly wouldn't turn them away if they were interested. Does that make sense? Like I just, it's always dicey coming from the NFL to the college.
There's an attraction. I do think it's an attraction in terms of recruiting, but you also don't know if those people want that recruiting lifestyle. Because I think, and that's especially when you're talking about what we normally do in these situations is when one staff gets fired or changed, you want the opposite. So right now, everybody wants these great recruiters, and that's generally a different lifestyle than what NFL coaches have been used to. I mean, now you're talking about going on the road for weeks and weeks at a time, doing all that, and some NFL coaches may not be into it. So,
yeah, I do. I think it's. I asked it because I don't think it's a slam dunk, and I was just curious with all the changes in the game. I think you're a candidate to have success right away if that draws a certain caliber of player because they're interested in playing for NFL coordinators, but you're also a candidate not to sustain that success at all when 2 and 3 years later, those guys are like, yeah, I hate this recruiting stuff. I'm not doing it, to your point. So, it's like, I think certainly it's a good point to look at Colorado, but when Shador and Hunter leave, we'll see how good Colorado is. It's two really good players, maybe the best two players in college football.
Yeah, and they do have a bunch of good players on defense. They brought in a bunch of dudes.
They did, and that's all portal stuff too.
Yeah,
and so it's like you'd be dedicated to that portal life. Then,
but that's the funny thing. It's like some teams get celebrated when they're having success. Indiana, that's a portal school right now. And they've had a little success. Nobody brings up that, you're going to die by the portal. But right now, the story for Florida State all years, they died by the portal.
Right.
Well, yeah, man, until you can live by it until you die by it. But we celebrate the teams that are having success with it.
I think the thought there, Ira, is that Indiana and Colorado aren't Florida State. Like Florida State, they should not be just a strictly, we get all our good players out of the portal school. Indiana and Colorado have to live that life because they're Indiana and Colorado. Florida State shouldn't be living this life where it's all portal. But that's where they are again. Like you see this class. I mean, it's going to be another just strictly, I don't know how many of the.
The problem is, Corey, he's stuck now.
I mean, he would have got fired 2 years ago if he didn't go in the portal.
Yeah, correct. But get to a point where you don't need the portal to be your lifeline, your lifeblood of the entire program. Maybe.
Yeah, I think we're getting to that point where the nuance in the discussion has been he had to do it. It was the right thing to do. Got it turned around quickly. Should have also recognized that you could wean yourself and start getting better at high school recruiting. Both are probably exactly true. And he failed in one regard and succeeded in the other. Now here we are in a mess. I do find it curious. I mean, I think the thing with Indiana is that he's done a great job and they've played the easiest schedule in America. I mean, it's unbelievable.
The Ohio State game could be interesting.
Yeah, I mean, if they win that one, then we'll all have to shut up. But yeah, we'll see. That's going to be interesting. They've played the bottom 7 teams in the Big Ten out of 18-team league.
I will say this: again, we look at this world of college coaching. We have this kind of this transformation right now where we've gone from the way college football programs used to be built to the way they're built now. And the reason coaches got long-term contracts historically was you're going to get 4 or 5 years to turn the program around.
Turn it around, right.
Right. Well, now it's like a coach comes in with transfer guys, has success, and it gets rewarded with this long-term deal. Like, I mean, Cignetti, maybe he makes that change from relying heavily on the portal to now soon he's going to have this program rolling with high school recruits. Or in 2 years when they're 2-10, he's going to get fired and they're going to have to pay off the last 5-6 years of that contract. Mike Norvell, and again, I like Mike Norvell. I think he's done a good job, but you rewarded a coach for success through the portal that you don't know is sustainable. And so now obviously they're fighting off Alabama. They thought they had to lock him in place, but this is the new world. If we are going to have these volatile programs where teams go up and down from year to year based on the portal haul of that season, these long-term contracts are going to look crazy.
Jeff, what kind of contracts do NFL coaches get? Aren't they like 3 years typically?
Yes, typically, unless you are a monster. You're like Belichick and you can demand something crazy. But yes, NFL coaching contracts aren't nearly as long. A lot of times you're directly tied to the GM. And when so an owner is a lot of times going to marry the future where you have a head coach and a GM that agree. And then when something goes south, if they don't think the coaching's poor, but the players aren't good enough, the GM gets fired. The coach gets 1 more year. But remember, at that point, you're hiring a GM who didn't hire the coach. Right. So you're usually a dead man walking. Like Daboll right now with the Giants is a guy that a couple years ago won Coach of the Year. They sucked to high heaven. Daniel Jones turned out to be a failure. That was not his draft choice. That was the GM's draft choice. So that GM is going to get fired. Daboll may get a chance because he had success early on, but I guess a long-winded way of answering your question. No, it's not, 5-year deals, 6-year deals.
And it feels like that's where colleges probably should go. I don't know if they can get there. Like these college administrators, presidents, and part of the problem is, man, college presidents, that's not what they do for a living. Like if you ask Rick McCullough, who's FSU's president, who used to be at Harvard and never dealt with any of this stuff, I'm sure he doesn't love as much time as he's spending on football and athletics. Eric Barron was the same way when he was the president. Thrasher didn't mind it as much, but he, because he loved Florida State football. But in general, it's not those guys' full-time jobs to be dealing with football issues. So that I think part of why they like the long-term contracts also on their benefit is, well, if we got a guy who's good, let's lock him in. We don't have to worry about that. But,
athletic directors love that too.
But I also don't know that
you can do that now.
It works anymore.
Yeah.
Corey, and I'll say this to you both. I think what happens where we're at now, and I'm watching these arguments all over the internet, all over our message boards, my inbox, Twitter, you name it. I don't think anybody knows. I don't think any of us know exactly the right move next for Mike Norvell and what should happen here. I don't think we could possibly know, because college football is changing radically right before our eyes. And we're seeing disparate results all over the country.
Every portal window is different.
It's just bizarre now. And it's changing so fast. And guys that were not having success suddenly do. Guys who didn't suddenly do, or don't. And I think you're going to see the belle of the ball one year be the laughing stock the next, and I think it's going to be fairly commonplace. Yep. I don't know that, but I'm going to guess that Indiana is not going to have long-term success with Cignetti. Good on him right now. He deserves all the credit that he's getting. Bringing in all those James Madison players was smart. Yeah. They all knew his system. They all played for him. He clearly, with the new car smell, walked in and got people to buy in, and they're winning. It helped that the schedule is the easiest I've ever seen for a Power 2 conference. That said, is he successful 3 and 4 years from now? The history of that program says resoundingly no chance in hell.
Yeah.
But it's the dawn of a new age. Maybe he will. Maybe he will. I don't know. And I don't think we know either. We just watched Mike Norvell win Coach of the Year in 23 games and fall on his face in the most magnificent manner possible. And nobody saw it coming. None of us. Nobody did. We could have taken issue with the staff. We could have taken issue that long-term. I think you're going to need to tweak that staff and do some things differently. We all may have had those nuanced debates, but nobody in their right mind that covers this game, is in this game as a player or a coach, ever thought in a million years they'd be sitting there 1-9, having pretty much quit. Nobody saw that. It's crazy.
There's no guarantee, as Ira was saying earlier, there's no guarantee who you hire is going to be a success. It's also no guarantee they're going to be a failure. We really don't have any idea. We have no direction. We don't know which way he's going to go, whether it will be a up-and-coming group of 5 guy that scored a lot of points, or a dude that's been in the Power 5 for 10 years, or an NFL guy. No idea. And no matter who the hire is, we don't know. Like, I have to imagine Wisconsin fans, and I only bring this up because I'm on board the Phil Longo train, but I have to imagine Wisconsin fans 2 years ago is like, yep, there's the answer. We'll finally have a modern offense to go with our defense and to go with our running game. And now we have a guy that can teach passing. We'll actually be able to make plays downfield. We'll score points. We'll go quick. We're about to take off. And it's been the worst 2 years of Wisconsin football in 15 years probably. And he just got fired. Even though he was awesome in North Carolina and he was good at Ole Miss before that, he just got fired at Wisconsin. So you just don't know. There's no guarantee hire. He's just got to get it better than he did this last group, I guess, even though they were undefeated last year.
This is why I keep going back to it, though. I still think there's something within that he has to look at and figure out where he got it wrong, what he didn't assess right. It's not as simple as
you're right.
There's a major disconnect.
Yeah, but I also think every team is different. Every situation is different. I don't know that there's ever been a team that has gone through over the last 12 months what Florida State football has gone through. I mean, they went 13-0, won their conference, and got screwed.
Yeah.
And got left out of that playoff.
The playoff, yeah.
I want to say a different word in there, an adjective in there. So they get left out of the playoff. Then half the team, for a lot of reasons that are understandable or not, all the best players decide not to play in the bowl game. You get completely obliterated on national television, an embarrassment that those kids had to wear, the kids that came back. Then you bring in some transfers that some of them were highly recruited. Some of them had maybe had some success elsewhere. Some had not. It obviously did not work. Then now you're starting wearing losses early this season on a team that was preseason number 10, preseason ACC champion, had won 19 straight games coming into this year, and now all of a sudden you're getting beat at home by Boston College and Memphis. My point is, I don't know how you navigate those circumstances. Those 10 months, the fact that this team imploded after that is not good. It's a bad sign for Mike Norvell, but I also don't know how easily any coach would navigate that 10 months and turn it around and keep things on track. So my point, and that was the reason I argued for, just like you guys probably, and certainly the fan base, to make sweeping changes because he has to hit a hard reset. But I don't know that that's an indictment of Mike Norvell as coach, as it is, man, this was a completely unforeseen set of circumstances that they clearly didn't handle well, but I don't know who would.
I think it's all of it.
Right.
I don't think it's any one of those things. It's all of them. I think Mike failed miserably after having to endure an unprecedented screw job.
The only thing I would say there is just, no, he did. But there may not have been a path to turning it around given those circumstances, is all I'm saying.
Yeah, I mean, we can't answer that. We can't answer.
But my point is, this is not a normal situation.
It's not a normal situation.
And what happened in the Orange Bowl, that is not a normal situation.
We agree, but we also would agree that this is completely ridiculous and unacceptable. Like, no matter how they were going to respond, this is never okay.
I agree. The only nuance there, and Corey, you can chime in, is just I think you can't judge this based on normal precedent that we've seen in college football before, because this was great. Those circumstances are extreme.
Jeff, we got to go to break, don't we?
We do, but I do want to give you your opportunity.
I was just going to say both of you guys are idiots.
Well, I mean, we already know that's how you feel.
Oh, Seminole
Love
Headlines,
you too.
93.3 Real Talk Radio. Warchant TV continues in a moment.
This is meteorologist Paul Frobley with your Real Talk 93.3 weather update. Overcast this afternoon with showers likely. High temperatures reach up to 77. Winds out of the south, 8 to 15 miles per hour. Cloudy skies expected again tonight. Showers likely. Lows dip down to about 69. Slight chance for showers tomorrow. Highs around 77. This report is brought to you by the Lawn Johns. For all your landscaping and lawn care needs, visit thelawnjohns.com. Currently 75.
I'm Franklin, and I've been a Paul's Termite technician for well over 10 years. Working for a great company like Paul's Termite and Pest Control is a blessing for my family and myself. I get tremendous satisfaction knowing that the work I do helps protect most people's biggest investment, their homes, the place where they raise their families and build lifelong relationships. Paul's is a company that stands behind their commitments to customers and employees, and that makes me proud to represent them.
I'm Jay. Having the privilege to work with people like Franklin and all of our employees is truly an honor. There is no doubt that the staff of Paul's Termite and Pest Control is the best in our industry. All of our people are local, and local really does mean something. We are North Floridians. Our kids go to school here. We shop here. We build relationships here, and we honor our commitments. To all of our customers, thanks for trusting us to protect your family, pets, and home.
For the elimination of termites, any other pests, and a greener lawn too, call Paul's. We'll get them all.
So this new dose is, nope, that's not it. The price is nowhere to be found.
Mr. Green? Hi, it's all good. We've got this.
This is not just help from a Walgreens pharmacist.
New prescriptions. Cool. Let me check to see if these are the lowest cost options covered by your Medicare plan.
Oh, that's great. Thank you.
This is someone supporting you every step of the way. Chat with a pharmacist today to find help saving. This is the human kind of help. Walgreens.
1 in 4 Americans have a disability. I'm one of them. I'm also a working mom who cares deeply about making sure every child with a disability thrives by getting their access needs met. We've got a trusted ally by our side. Easter Seals provides children and families the foundation for lifelong success through early learning programs, skills training, and prep for college and career. That's my Easter Seals. Make it yours. Join us at easterseals.com.
Life is stressful. Dinner shouldn't be. That motto is why Register Sausage has been doing business in the Florida Panhandle and Lower Alabama for over 75 years. A proud sponsor of Seminole Headlines, Register Sausage always provides the best Southern smoked sausage to over 140 grocery stores and restaurants throughout the Southeast. Headliners have discovered the Register's difference. You can too. To find a store that carries Registers near you or to buy directly, head to registermeats.com. That's registermeats.com. Register Sausage. Yay, sausage!
Seminole Headlines returns now. Head to YouTube and search for Warchant TV today to catch the show live or on demand. Now, here's Jeff Cameron, Ira Schofel, and Corey Clark.
All right, Corey, fire away after that meaty segment Ira and I just had.
You had plenty of time to mull things over, formulate your opinions, change your opinions to my opinions.
Yeah, I don't even know what real just. Yeah, Norvell failed miserably. But Ira's right.
That wasn't the gist of it.
Oh, but it was. There were a lot of things that went into it. But the good news is, and I'll keep reiterating this, it ain't hard to turn it back around, folks. It just isn't. I mean, that's the one thing we do know about modern day college football, in my opinion. It's so tumultuous and it ebbs and flows so wildly that the flow, is it the flow that's the good part or the ebb? The flow, right? They're ebbing right now.
Neither are good or bad.
Depends on which way you're looking at it. Maybe.
Depends on the way
I feel right now Florida State's in an ebb. They need to start flowing again. The flow could happen next year. I think let's pivot a second.
Corey, I'm going to do this for you.
No. That's a good question. Who's the quarterback next year? Is the quarterback next year on the roster?
Yeah, we have no idea.
I do not believe so.
I don't believe he is, though. I agree with Ira.
Me too.
We had a
I guess that was going to be more meaty.
Yeah. If I had argued it. Yeah. 2 Live Hollywood says, my guys, I think the big question in the room for Mike is why? Meaning, if I'm a player, why should we follow you into battle when we did everything you asked and still was not rewarded? I believe he has to switch up the message. Well, there's no doubt the message is going to be switched now regardless. Right. He can't keep saying the same things. They stopped listening long ago.
Won't he be talking to a locker room full of legitimately 50 new guys? It'll be
a combination of some of both.
He could play the greatest hits.
An opportunity. I recalled that a total reset. I think it is for everybody involved. I mean, some of those players, but obviously for Mike himself, I think he's going to want to look at that. I think we could all use that from time to time. Hell, at various points in our lives, it'll be. Most of us don't get the opportunity after failing as grand as he did by getting a raise and then reconsidering our ways. And normally it doesn't happen that way. But he's got that opportunity. And it's, really something that's going to be etched in his coaching career and the way that we view him moving forward. Does he salvage it? Does he get this turned around? Does he become a success story for a second time at the same place? That's fascinating. We've never seen it before. Maybe it happens. Maybe it doesn't. I don't know.
Yeah, and to your point, too, Live, I really think that when you look at, historically, coaches have been able to do that. There are coaches that have done that. They've changed their approach based on the players they had, based on the
a lot of times though, Ira, it was like I'm changing my scheme. Like I understand. No. Nick Saban realized I can't fight this anymore. Tempo's the way to go. I hate this, but we're going to have to embrace it.
Right. But I do think there are examples. I do think there are examples also where coaches try to relate differently to players for whatever reason. Whether the locker room changes, they have to evolve with that. And I think, going back to the point Corey made in his column that, a year ago we thought that staff was fine. Well, then right now you're like, well, this staff, this is a disaster. To me, the phrase that keeps coming to my mind is like a business school phrase, like, good being the enemy of great. I feel like a lot of what was happening at Florida State under Mike Norvell for the past 2 or 3 years was about being good, like getting back to being good again. And then they ended up kind of exceeding expectations. We didn't necessarily think they were going to be 13-0 last year. We thought, that's a team that could probably win 10 or 11 games. That would be awesome. And the goal was just trying to be good. And I think that was a staff that kind of looked like what you could be with a good staff. Now, man, it's got to be great. And I'm not saying they have to be great next season, but that's where Mike Norvell needs to be looking at.
Yes,
it's easier. It's easier to surround yourself with coaches you like and that are going to be like-minded and are not going to stab you in the back and are not going to be looking for the next big job. That's easier to be good with those kinds of guys. But I don't know if that staff was ever going to get you great. And
we agree on this. And I actually think we did debate this some. I mean, I remember saying on the show that one thing I always wanted to compare Florida State to whoever was the elite standard of the time, because that's what Florida State's ceiling is. That when they're operating at peak efficiency, they're the best college football gets, right? They have that capability. Yeah. Wake doesn't. Yeah. We have that. All right. So when we were holding them to the standard of, say, Georgia and Kirby Smart, I remember us debating, like, could this staff ever get to that? Didn't feel like it. But you weren't going to fire a group of guys that went 13-0. But it didn't ever feel like that group understood what it took in recruiting to get to that place. Now, Kirby had a head start, and we always debated that nuances of that too. But he does now come into this. That has to be your goal with the quickness.
very quickly. And I think, I think one of the things that Mike Norvell thought was, I'm going to bring in a group of 5 guys or guys that are similar to me on the coaching ladder. I'm going to do it my way. Watch how I turn this program around. I know you guys are worried that I can't recruit. I don't have any connections in Florida. I've never recruited 5-star talent. I've made my bones with a bunch of 3-stars. But watch when I get this thing turned around, how the recruiting will follow. Well, he won 19 straight games. He went 13-0. Did the recruiting ever get on par with that?
No.
Right. So I think he thought that just the success on the field would dictate an uptick in recruiting to the point where they're an elite level recruiting staff because they're winning games, and that just didn't happen. So yes, I do think he has to change his mindset, a little bit. But he needs a quarterback. At the end of the day, you need to score more than 13 points a game, and you need a flipping quarterback. Maybe he's on the roster, maybe he isn't, but figure the offense out, man. Otherwise, all of what we've talked about the last hour is utterly pointless.
You're going to move the ball if you have better players, no matter the offense you run. Now, he never got the quarterback right, other than Jordan turned into something. He's got to recruit a quarterback that everybody goes, there it is. You did it. You got him. You found the guy. He hasn't found the guy. And that's also a knock on Mike because he's an offensive guy. So let's hope that stops where we don't have this situation moving forward. But I think it's about learning how to demand more from the staff in recruiting. Like, yes, right now he's got to figure out a quick fix, which we keep talking about, which is the right thing. You're right. He's going to have to overhaul the hell out of it. But, man, he's going to have to demand of himself and the rest of his staff so much more in recruiting, however he has to do it.
Did you think it was telling, Ira? Aslan brought this up when Norvell said he was asked about recruiting when it came to hiring coaches. And he's like, I want people that enjoy that aspect of the job. I want to get people that enjoy that aspect of the job. He said that on Monday because, I thought that was very telling. I mean, I don't know how many guys on this staff love and live for recruiting. Not that anybody would that has a sane brain. How would anybody want to do that?
But you have to. That's every sport loves that stuff. That's what you see from
Do you think he meant that he intentionally said that, Ira? Like that was something he wanted to get out there?
I think so. Even if it was subliminally or even if it was subconsciously. I think it listen, man, the reality is you and I don't know that coordinators always have to be great recruiters. I don't think they do need to be. But when your offensive line coach, Alex Atkins, seemed to have a strong affinity for the portal. And so you've been signing kids out of high schools the last 2 or 3 years that ostensibly could have been good players, but weren't developing. And then you're going and bringing in these portal guys over top of them. And it felt like just that was the direction. Like that's the direction Alex Atkins was going to go with the offensive line. And it's like, man, that is a position you can't portal yourself out of.
No.
The way things have changed. Now, maybe you got Dylan Gibbons, you struck gold there. But for the most part, it's been tough go. And so, I think at these other positions, maybe you can do some of both. But I think, but also he has to reflect on himself that when that comes, because again, the people that cover recruiting more than we do, the three of us are on the beat, probably that spend the least amount of time in recruiting covers, but the people that do cover it for a living and spend a lot of time with it say that, Mike Norvell and his whole program, they are not devoted to high school recruiting the way a Mario Cristobal is, or some of these other coaches. And I've kind of dismissed that, but the results are the results.
No, I think you nailed it. So perfect way to end the hour. We'll get to headliner questions momentarily. Seminole Headlines continues in a moment. Hey, let me tell you about my friends at Tried and True Consulting, a Seminole-owned business that specializes in payments and business solutions. Tried and True's core expertise includes card, ACH, point of sale, mobile, e-commerce, and hosted payment solutions. Tried and True will help you reduce costs and increase your bottom line. That always sounds nice. Whether you're a retailer, restaurant, licensed professional, or service industry, Tried and True is saving you money. Tried and True's expertise extends to payroll, video menu ad boards, IT services, web design, and social media. It's time to make one call and tell the competition to take it on down the road. Call Don or Joe today at 844-464-6653. That's 844-464-6653. When you do business with Tried and True, they contribute 10% of the net revenue to the battle's end. So go Tried and True today. Call 844-464-6653.
All the way. 222-7722. AC and electric is what we do.
Is your air conditioner operating at maximum efficiency? Is it tuned up and inspected to help prevent a summer breakdown? Now that we're in the middle of the Tallahassee heat, it's important that your answer is yes to both of those questions, because you need the system running smoothly to help keep power bills down, and you definitely don't want a breakdown with a 105-degree heat index. Contact Parker Services today and learn about their peak performance membership. It's a low-cost way to keep your AC tuned and catch potential problems before they happen. And there are many other benefits, including priority service and a 15% discount on repairs. Call Parker Services today, and you'll enjoy peace of mind within a few days. CMC 050334 and EC 1301240.
This is Alex from Falmers. We know that you want to get the most value for the money you spend this holiday season. That's why we're discounting all of our gold and silver jewelry by 50%. All diamond earrings, pendants, and charms. Popular items like gold chains and necklaces. Even all wedding sets and engagement rings are discounted by 50%. At Falmers, we make your dollars go further. Shop early for the best selection, and don't forget to ask about our great layaway plan. Falmers, 2 times more than you might expect with 2 great locations. As you probably know, Falmers buys, sells, and loans on just about anything of value. What you might not know is that when you buy something from us, we guarantee the total satisfaction of your purchase. Buy it, take it home, and if for any reason you decide you don't want it within 7 days, Falmers will give you 100% of your money back. And if you decide you don't want the item within 30 days, Falmers will let you exchange it for something you do want. At Falmers, we guarantee you're going to be happy with your purchase, or we'll buy it back. Falmers, check cashing, pawn service, and sales. 2 times more than you might expect, with 2 great locations.
Many orthodontists in Tallahassee can straighten a smile, but at Birch Orthodontics, they're dedicated to providing the finest care possible. Experienced and friendly staff is trained in all of these techniques. So whether you need standard treatment like braces or Invisalign, or you have orthodontic needs requiring extra attention, Birch Orthodontics is here for you. Set up your free consultation today by visiting birchorthodontics.com, BURCH orthodontics.com, or call 850-877-1692. At Birch Orthodontics, they create beautiful smiles that last a lifetime.
Your sports action update on Real Talk 93.3 with all the latest odds from Vegas. Brought to you by Falmars Pawn, Gun and Gold. More than you might expect with 2 great locations in Tallahassee.
Number 24, the Gators, a 5-point favorite at Florida State at the Tucker Center in Tallahassee. The total, 158.5. College football tomorrow. Florida Gators quarterback DJ Lagway hopes to play, bothered by a hamstring injury that kept him out last week in the loss at Texas. The Gators are 4.5-point underdogs at home to LSU tomorrow. The total 55 of the Swamp. Georgia's Kirby Smart, 14-3 after a loss. It has not lost back-to-back games since 2016. Georgia laying 10 against Tennessee at Sanford Stadium in Athens tomorrow. Jaguars, a 13-point road dog Sunday at the line. Cash back for every bet with a GBank signature Visa card. VSIN.com/GBank. Mike Sennett, Real Talk 93.3.
Lowe's knows you want to get even more value for the holidays. That's why as a My Lowe's Rewards member, you get new member deals on holiday decor, tools, and more. And you earn points when you shop. More points equal more rewards to help you save on holiday and more. Not a member? Join for free today at Lowe's.com/MyLowe'sRewards, because Lowe's knows deals. Program subject to terms and conditions. Points are awarded on eligible purchases. See Lowe's.com/terms for full details. Subject to change.
This holiday season, Straight Talk Wireless is letting you say yes a lot more with real unlimited data. Yes to sharing pics of the ugliest holiday sweaters. Yes to checking weather on the go for surprise sledding trips. And with a free bonus sign up, let the yes-tivities begin. No way! Yes way. Straight Talk, real unlimited data. Available at Walmart or straighttalk.com. Offer valid through 1/5/25 while supplies last at participating stores. Taxes and fees apply. Requires in-store activation on select single line plans. Limit of 2 phones per customer. For network management practices, visit straighttalk.com.
Pinch A Penny Pools has the largest selection of premium hot springs hot tubs in the city. You might even call it Tallahassee's Hot Tub Hub. 12,000 square feet of hot tubs with over 50 of them on site. Over 20,000 gallons of tub capacity to choose from. That's 4,620,000 cubic inches of hot tubs. But I digress. So why should you own a hot tub from Pinch A Penny Pools and Spas, you might ask? Well, I'll tell you. Number 1, health benefits, of course. The healing powers of soaking in a hot bubbling pool of water go back centuries. Google it. Number 2, Pinch A Penny has hot tubs with technology called Freshwater IQ. It gives you real-time chemical readings and tells you exactly what to add to keep the water at peak perfection, with automated analysis to help you control the chlorine and pH. It's hot tubs for dummies. Sign me up. Number 3, they have the best prices, of course. Plus, you get a free accessory and no interest financing. Easy peasy. But if you don't want to take my word for it, check them out yourself. Pinch a Penny Pools and Spas. Locally owned, locally operated, and the easiest way to find relaxation at home.
The best happy hour in the city is at Café de Martín and El Bar. All day, every day, you can find great deals at Café de Martín while enjoying the best outdoor seating Tallahassee has to offer. Sip away on 2-for-1 house wines, chilcanos, and margaritas all day long, Monday through Thursday. Plus 2-for-1 pisco sours and margaritas on Fridays and Saturdays, and 2-for-1 mimosas for Sunday brunch. Come join us at Café de Martín, where every hour is happy hour, in the Esposito Shopping Center on Capitol Circle Northeast.
From the championship stage to coaching change and everything in between, Warchant.com remains your home for the best FSU football coverage in the business. Brutally honest columns and features, market-leading multimedia presence across video and podcast, the largest FSU fan community with a staff that combines for over 100 years of experience covering the Noles. When change comes, Warchant.com is your home for analysis from every angle. Warchant.com, your ultimate Seminole sports source. Sign up today.
It's time for Seminole Headlines, featuring Warchant.com's Jeff Cameron, managing editor Ira Schofel, and senior writer Corey Clark. Your weekly dose of all things FSU, pistols and pies starts right now. Here's Jeff Cameron.
Hour number 2, Seminole Headlines and headliner questions coming your way. As always, there's Ira, there's Corey, I'm Jeff. Thanks for being here, and thanks to our dear friends at Birch Orthodontics. Appreciate their great work and their service. Oh, hey, look at my man. Look at my man.
I couldn't get to the mute button in time.
Should have just waved frantically. I could have turned your mic
That's
off.
my fault. No, I could turn my own mic off. I couldn't get to the mute in time. Sorry.
That was the great thing, because if you couldn't do the mute, you just would have turned away probably.
Yeah.
But instead,
when you go back and watch the replay, I did flip the mic up as I was speaking.
Good work.
So that's all I could do.
You were betwixt and between.
Yeah, I know. I had stuck between a rock and a hard place. There was no choice. Love you, Heather Birch.
Leaves no choice. You go to Birch Orthodontics. There you go.
There is no other choice.
That's right. No other choice but to head over to Birch Orthodontics for your orthodontic needs. Always best in the business, and that's why all my kids went there. All of Ira's kids went there. And if Corey's kid didn't live in Atlanta, he'd have gone there.
Stepkids gone there.
Yeah.
Dean's kids gone there. Everybody.
Right.
It's a who's who of orthodontic care.
I think it's a nice touch that we've autographed all the pictures of ourselves that we dropped off at the office for her to hang. I thought that was the right thing to do.
The glossies.
Yeah. It was Corey's idea, and we went along for the ride. I thought it was good.
Yeah.
So we signed him. We handed him over. I don't know if she's put him up yet. I'll have to check.
Well, it's something for the moms in the waiting room.
Yeah, that's true. And they got to wait patiently. They might as well stare at our mugs. Right. Birch Orthodontics, best of the best of the best. Now, what do you think the headline question is going to be about? Basketball tonight against Hofstra?
Could be.
By the way, that's an undefeated Hofstra team
with a win over Seton Hall.
And I would and UMass and
Iona.
Tom's old college. I would also note that isn't that Speedy Claxton, head coach there at Hofstra? Remember him in the NBA?
Oh, is that really? That's their coach? Oh, that's cool.
Their coach. Yeah, it's his alma mater, if I remember correctly, and I think that's right. That's
you know who else went to Hofstra?
No.
Herb Schofel, my dad.
Oh, how about that, Herb?
Yeah.
All right, there we go.
Yeah.
Little nostalgia, little sentimentality tonight when you're covering the game. That's an undefeated team that comes in with a little bit of chops, and so Florida State would do wise to win these non-conference games, obviously. Just fell to Florida, couldn't hang on the boards. But this should be a good game. By the way, Hofstra, I looked it up just because I was curious. I have not seen them play this year, so I'm not pretending to know. But they're big on three-point shooting. They're not a big team. They like to shoot the three. Florida State, not always great at covering the three, but if they can, they should be able to dominate the boards tonight, right?
It'll be a good game. They're only dominating. They don't dominate the boards against anybody.
Dominate the boards.
They weren't dominating the boards in their first 3 games, so you kind of knew what was going to happen when they played Florida. And you said they couldn't hang with Florida on the boards. I'm not sure that that's the appropriate description. They got obliterated.
I said couldn't hang. I feel like that's a good descriptor.
Murdered was more like they got
especially
massacred
on the offensive boards there, right?
God,
hurt your feelings a little bit watching that. That's something.
Yeah, there was for long stretches of that game. Florida had more offensive rebounds, and Florida State had defensive rebounds, and it ended up about 50-50.
It's a toughie.
Yeah, they got to work on that.
So
Got to work on blocking out a little bit, maybe get into the basket.
What you're saying is when we're in the NCAA tournament and you get to that round of Sweet 16, you just don't want to see one of those taller teams on the ledger, right?
When you get to that round, it's all about matchups.
Yeah,
it's like styles make fights. It's all about matchups when you get to the Sweet 16.
Fair enough. All right, let's hope they can beat Hofstra tonight. Let's go with that. There you go. And now we get to the questions.
But there's some fun stuff about this basketball team. I think I'm going to predict right now, Corey.
Well, they got a great player.
We're going to talk more Florida State basketball than Taylor Swift over the next 3 months.
Yeah. They're going to make it that kind of interesting.
I think so, man.
Man, wouldn't that be something?
How about that? First time in a few years.
Yeah. That's what I'm
I
predicting.
hope you're right. I sincerely hope you're right. I think this fan base could use it. We could all use it. We could use that kind of like a real sports, distraction.
It would have been nice for them to play better because I don't think they played very well against Florida. And I think Florida's good. And I don't think Florida State played very well, so I don't know that it's going to bring the students. The students showed up. They sold out their portion.
Yeah, they were hoping.
They were there.
Hey, man, when they cut it to, what was it, 5?
4.
I was like, come on, boys, let's go.
Then back-to-back threes. And
yeah, that was the end of that.
Have a good night.
Short-lived dream. It was a short-lived dream, Ira, that me and the other faithful in attendance had there. It was like, oh.
I just hope the students will keep coming because they make it because we know the general fan base for Florida State men's basketball is not going to carry the day most times, but the students can.
Hey, the dad guy kind of asked a question that has been hinted at from other people about what this disaster means this year. And in some ways he believes, and I'm paraphrasing here because the question's been asked this way several times, but like not just mining for something good out of something terrible, but his thought is that thank goodness they are this bad because then nobody can argue that he has to change so many things. He thought if they went 6-6 that he would just kept it status quo. Do you think he would have kept the status quo if they went 6-6?
I don't know if he would have kept it status quo, but it wouldn't
changes?
be drastic like this. I mean, it would. There's no way he'd fire both coordinators and multiple other people.
So what? Let's play that out. Let's say they beat Duke because they only turned it over twice. They beat Georgia Tech. The kid misses the field goal. You beat him in overtime. So now instead of 1-9, you're 3-6. There's probably another win in there. Maybe the Memphis game. There was probably a couple plays there. So you're 4-5, 4-6. You're about to be 5-6 because you're about to beat Charleston Southern. You think if you somehow beat Florida or just lose to Florida, and you go 5-7, you don't think there's
5-7? I think he'd be making changes.
But you think 6-6 wouldn't? Like
this is a question from the dad guy. I don't know.
No. I'm saying like I think it was so bad offensively that I think that had to be sweeping changes, and then obviously the defense just doesn't fill you with a lot of pride.
Well, they're not good, Corey. Just say it. They're not good
when you watch them play. So I don't know that we could say for sure that Norvell would have been slow to make changes, even if they had a middling season.
I'm not saying he'd been slow to make changes, but this is going to be a complete overhaul, man. He's fired both coordinators. I'm assuming he's going to fire several more assistant coaches, and they're going to be making changes, I think, behind the scenes in terms of recruiting and that process I think has already started. So, I think it left any possibility of him trying to find the best. People we talked to, even a couple of weeks ago, were wondering, well, what happens if he doesn't make these changes before the season's over and somehow you win a couple games late in the year? Now does he back off wanting to make some changes?
Yeah.
And I mean, and I think you look at the roster, all the talk we heard last spring was that, man, they were going to flip a bunch of guys off this roster.
He didn't do that.
And then they didn't end up doing it. So I just think it gets easier with time. And if you don't make the changes and if you have some success to not make them, maybe he fires one coordinator, but I don't think he fires both. And I don't think he makes all the other changes.
But but a lot of people, and it might be true, you needed rock bottom. You needed this to just be like, and the self-reflective aspect of it too. Like, I've got to get better people around me and I've got to change what I'm doing. This isn't just one or two plays. This is an abomination.
That part of it, I think, is the most significant part. I think that he might have been more willing to stay the course with a couple guys that were on the edge that he was thinking about changing if they had more wins. But the self-reflection, the I got to change my modus operandi, the holy moly, this is catastrophic. I'm going to have to make critical choices across the board and sweeping changes right here, right now. And, listen, he has, to his credit, and maybe I failed to say it in this hour or many other times that I've been critical of the job he's done this year, he hasn't run from the failure. I mean, he mentions every time he speaks to the press how unacceptable this is. I mean, he does know that. I mean, some people are like, well, he should say. He has said that he has failed and that the standard has not been met and that this is awful. He used the word awful.
Right.
So, I mean, it's not like he doesn't know it. Just for people who sometimes wonder whether or not he certainly has said that. Nathan writes, what up, guys? I came across a saying I feel is relevant to our Noles, and I immediately thought of Corey. Here you go, Corey. The strongest steel is forged in the fire of a dumpster.
It's fair. I've never heard that saying, but
it's
it makes sense.
commonly used phrase in the steel industry.
Yeah. Okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I made that up. I didn't make up the question. The question he just wanted you to feel good about the future of the program, knowing that the strongest steel is forged in the fire of a dumpster,
and it is a raging fire. Is the hotter the fire? Ira, you know how you smelled things your whole life.
Metalworks a long time.
Yeah.
Is the hotter the fire, the sharper the sword?
I don't know about that one.
It could be.
No, I'm not looking for a phrase. I'm asking, how does it work?
When you're doing the sword, if it's hotter,
I think just making it hot just makes it more malleable.
Yeah, that's what it seems to me too.
So you could make it sharper.
Could you broil a sword?
We need to bring in a samurai. You can get a good answer on these swords.
And then broil them.
I don't know anything. Yeah. How many wins in 2025, writes Mark? And it's a 1, 2, 3, 4. So bear with me, fellas. 1, Coach Mike Norvell gets fired. 2, just enough not to get fired. 3, might make you think he's turning it around. 4, gives you confidence that 2024 was the outlier and Norvell is the coach we need him to be. So you got one for each. So let's start with number 1. How many wins in 2025?
Are we ranking the 4?
No, we're just answering the questions.
Answering them one by one. He said, how many wins in 2025? 1 gets Coach Mike Norvell fired.
2.
If he wins a grand total of 4 games in 2 years, I hope he's fired. Yes.
I think 4 or less for sure. 5
maybe.
Could be up for debate, possibly.
Yeah. So you're saying 6 and 6, you probably all right.
Oh,
Anything other than
100%. Yeah, 6 and 6, you're absolutely keeping Mike Norvell.
2 and 10, yeah.
2, just enough to not get fired. I think we kind of answered that one just now. 6 is just enough not to get fired.
I think 4 to 5. You double your win total. If you double your win total from one year to the next,
stop it, Corey.
You're clearly doing some things.
Stop it.
Yeah, I don't think 4 is guaranteed of anything.
I think they should fire him if they win 4 games next year.
We'll have a lively debate. We'll see. But 5.
Mike, I got your back. I got your back. I don't know what these guys they have such a problem with 2 wins.
They win 4 games next year, Corey Clark. You keep that same energy. I want to have that debate, buddy.
6 and 18 over a 2-year stretch. That's fine. Come on, gang.
What was the third question?
Makes you think he might turn it around.
Ooh, I think 8. 8 would make me think he might turn.
Only 8. I mean, as many as 8. 7 doesn't.
6 or 7. I'm not.
You're still not sure.
Sure.
I think 8's the right answer. Yeah, I think 8 would give you, because you got to assume one of the losses is probably a close loss. Maybe all of them are close, and you're like, golly, you're just a good punt away from being 11-1.
A good punt away from being undefeated. What happened? And then finally, number 4, how many wins in 2025 gives you the confidence that 2024 was an outlier and Norvell is the coach we've always needed him to be?
10.
10. I think we're with 10. Yeah. 10 would be something.
That would be something.
If they go 2 and 10, and that's a big if. Let's see. If they go 2 and 10,
it'd be 3 and 9, guys.
They're not beating Florida. If they go 2 and 10, and then 10 and 2, I mean, Jesus, that would be. We would tell our grandkids about this. Like, we covered a team. They'll be like 16 years old.
Can we talk about Florida real quick? I know you guys love Florida. You guys love the Gators. I didn't hear much from you guys when they got beat by 100 at Texas, but you guys love the fight of the Gators, which I'll give you. They fight.
Oh, hold on.
But let me finish.
You're going to exclude that their third-string quarterback started the game against Texas?
Let me ask you, they give 45 points in 10
minutes.
Dude,
they couldn't get a first down.
But you don't hold it against this defense. This defense doesn't get that excuse.
All right.
They can't do anything offense. My question is, how much of that game Saturday was LSU just sucking, especially in the red zone? Are we giving Florida all the credit for that? They competed. I'm not going to take that away from you. But LSU, I thought LSU was ridiculous. I thought Brian Kelly, that to me, LSU fans have to want to get rid of Brian Kelly to me after watching that game more than Florida fans would ever want to get rid of Billy Napier right now.
I think if Napier goes 6-6 with this team and that schedule, he's the coach of the year.
He's not going to be coach of the year.
Yeah, he could win 6 games, could win 7 if they win their bowl game. That's insane. They got blasted by Miami in the first game of the year on the heels of back-to-back losing seasons, and this guy was all but dead in the water, and they fight their ass off every Saturday.
Well, not every Saturday.
No, not every Saturday.
Not that one in Austin. Like, hey, you're allowed to rise up if your quarterback's not playing. Florida State defense, they've been living that third-string quarterback life for a year now. They've kind of given in. You see what happens when you don't believe your offense is going to score? Your good defense kind of just packs it in. But are Florida fans excited? Like, great, awesome. You might win 6 games. Unbelievable. Great work, guys. This guy has still never had a winning record there. He's never proven he can win in the SEC. Hasn't really come close. And you know he's coming back for another year.
That wasn't the question. I don't think that they're fired up, but, man, I don't think they have a real problem with the fact that he's coming back and Lagway's going to be their quarterback. They've got something to hit on.
Yeah,
and
I guess.
He's really, really good. They have good players. A lot of the play. He was out recruiting Mike when they were losing.
That's my point, though. My point when they were competing before the Texas game was, yeah, man, it's a little bit easier to compete when you have a quarterback and that is ready right now. And you're getting production from the quarterback. And now they got that again on Saturday. If you don't have that, well, this freaking team has not had it all season. So I don't want to say, oh, it's an indictment of these kids or this coaching staff. It's a whole lot easier to compete when you feel like your offense might be able to score 24 points.
There are examples, though, Ira, around the country, including places in which they're on their third-string quarterback and they keep playing hard and they show up. And they even steal some wins.
I know, but it's not. That's where I get back to this circumstance.
What are we even talking about Florida for? The point is, we can say, yes, they're a better team than Florida State this year. You've got a guy here. I know people don't want to hear this. You've got a guy here that's proven he can win at an elite level. He just proved it. Florida fans are stuck with Napier for another year. They have no idea. He's got a losing record there. He's won 5 of his last 16 games against FBS competition. They have a quarterback that looks like he could be something. Great. But they're not a great program by any stretch of the imagination. Now, they're going to come in here and boat race Florida State.
They are.
But Ira was painting it like I'm a big fan of Florida. I love what they do. I don't. I think they play harder than Florida State. I think they have a better defense than Florida State. I think they've had a better defense all year than Florida State, and they play like they want to play college football. But I still, if I'm a Florida State fan and I'm looking at the two situations, I don't know, man. I think you've got a guy that has at least proven he can win at a level. Is Napier ever going to win the SEC? Billy Napier?
Florida hasn't won the SEC since 2008.
It's crazy.
16 years.
It's just straight up mediocrity for a decade and a half.
Yeah, there's no getting around that this is back-to-back fails with coaches. There's no getting around.
I guess that's just where I get frustrated sometimes is when there's so much frustration and animosity about Florida State, which I get it. But then it turns to promoting what other teams are doing to whatever degree. Mario, what he's doing in Miami. Yeah, man, he got Cam Ward.
Yeah,
it's all transfers.
No.
Let's see what that team looks like in a year. And in Florida, again, it's one thing to look like you haven't quit. We'll see what that looks like, in a year or two, and it may work out. That part of it bothers me when it becomes anointing other people that aren't.
I think you're looking at it the wrong way, Ira. It's not anointing Florida as doing something great. It's like, golly, can't you just try like Florida? Florida sucks too. Why can't you try like Florida? That's not a high bar to clear.
Here's what's different. Again, this goes back to my point from earlier, and we'll move on. We've got a lot of questions to answer. But the difference is Florida's players came into this year with everybody telling them they were going to suck. They had no chance. They were going to lose. What was their win total? 4
or 5, 4.5.
So they knew this year and so they had that mentality the whole year. Florida State's guys went to the ACC kickoff wearing gold chains and sweet suits, thinking they were the belle of the ball, and then they get their head kicked in week after week. It's a different world, and they don't have a quarterback. That's all I'm saying. It's a lot of it is what your expectations were, what people were telling you, and then now how it plays out. Florida, I think they should be resilient. They've had to rally around each other even coming into the season. That's
I can see it from both sides. I can say that, look, if you go into a season knowing that everybody thinks you suck, you're more apt to just go through the motions because you got no chance and your coach is going to be fired and you know he's a dead man walking, and then you play your first game of the season and you lose by 1,000 at home on national television to Miami, and then turn around and get blown out by Texas A&M, and all the prophecies are coming true, and yet you go on the road, should have beat Tennessee, go for 2. If he's not a coward in that situation, they will win that game. And you see these moments where they're beating teams they shouldn't beat or are in games they shouldn't be in, and that is admirable. I could see describing that as admirable. I get what you're saying. You resent that people do look at Florida State's situation and say, see, Florida's better than Florida State, and that coach is better than Florida State's coach. No, I get it. I'm not doing all of those things. You both can be true. You can say that is admirable, the way he's got them to fight when everybody thought they'd quit. And at the same time, you can say that, well, the circumstances were very different. Yeah, agreed. But, Kansas just beat BYU, and they had 3 wins going into that game. And they were on their third-string quarterback.
I actually know a little bit about Kansas. They lost some crazy, one possession losses.
Games, yes. It's enough to take the wind out of you.
It could. It could happen. But when you're playing an undefeated team, that's probably going to bring you guys back together.
Well,
you know what I'm
they
saying?
didn't in South Bend.
Come on, man.
Well, that's true. They weren't undefeated. They had that loss already.
Next question. Gentlemen and Corey, do you understand why I don't care how bad Charleston Southern is? The team being bad doesn't suddenly mean our receivers are going to catch or that we're going to try. Okay, so this gets into this.
It's fair. It's fair. Until I see guys standing in the end zone with the football, I understand it's hard to comprehend they're going to do a lot of that against anyone that's a competitive college football, that has an organized college football team. It's hard to imagine this offense scoring a bunch of points. Charleston Southern is 1-10, though. And they have one of the worst offenses in the FCS. So it might be a race to 8.
You'd like to think. The difference in this game, you would like to think, is that if you get the ball into Lawrence Toafili's hands in space, it's not going to be an 8-yard gain. It might be a 55-yard gain. You do have better athletes. Hakeem Williams. I mean, you have guys that have they're not playing against similar talent.
Outside of the outlier that may exist on Charleston Southern's team that I'm unaware of, Florida State should have better players at every single position on the field, and by a lot.
Right.
Yeah. So I guess they're already 1-9. If they did lose, would it change anything in your mind? Like, what? No, seriously, that's
having that conversation.
Like, what? That Norvell's done a bad year. Bad job this year?
No, I'm saying just given what we just defined as absolutely being true, would that change anything?
No, it's already an utter embarrassment. It's already the worst season of our lifetimes.
I think Jeff's asking without asking, is it worth $63 million?
No, exactly. No, he could lose 40-0. You're not paying that guy $63 million.
Corey,
you're just not. You can't. If you're going to fire him for an embarrassment, this is all. What happened in South Bend was an abject embarrassment. What's happened this whole season is an embarrassment. Losing to Charleston Southern is just the cherry on it. But the reason you're not firing him right now would still be true Sunday if they lost to Charleston Southern. It's $65 million. Throw money to get it right. Don't throw money at him to go away. Because he sucked this year. This has been a total failure. Losing to Charleston Southern would just be more of a failure. It's just what it is, though.
I don't know if I'm there with you, buddy.
I don't think I can get there.
So you think one loss is going to be the $65 million loss?
You know it represents more than a loss.
But this season represents that already, in my mind. It can't get worse. I mean, I guess it could because they could lose to Charleston Southern, but
they could lose to Charleston Southern.
1-11, 2-10. He's already coached that lost to Jacksonville State on a flipping Hail Mary. You would fire him already if this game meant anything.
I prefer we move on.
Irish firing might be
hypothetical. I mean, what are we talking about?
That was a question. He's like, that guy didn't feel safe Saturday.
I'd give him a raise. I'd give him a vote of confidence.
Corey's like, I'm going to extend you. Here's a 5-year deal.
I'm going to go after that Charleston Southern coach.
No matter what you do, go piss on the Seminole. Seminole Headlines 93.3 Real Talk Radio Warchant TV continues in a moment.
This is Shannon Young with Fairway Independent Mortgage Corporation. Sellers, are you stuck between wanting to sell your home and waiting for rates to fall? Are you worried about the contingency of having to sell your home? What if you didn't have to? With a 2-1 rate buy down, you can lock in a lower interest rate for the first 2 years of your mortgage and get the home you want now, all while having a higher chance to buy that next home with the contingency of selling yours. If you wait for rates to fall, you risk more competition, sellers less likely to wait, and paying more for that next property. If you're stuck, we need to talk. Give me a call at 954-369-6171. Again, this is Shannon Young with Fairway Independent Mortgage Corporation. That's 954-369-6171. And don't forget, for every loan we close for our fellow Noles, I will personally donate $250 to the Battle's End.
Equal housing rent, NMLS number 373031.
Time. It's the one thing we never get back. We can't create it. We can't buy it. We can't store it somewhere. Once it's gone for good, which makes it the most valuable thing we have. The only real question is how we spend our time. So, how much time are you spending every day running in circles with a computer network using old software on old equipment that's wasting your time, that gets in the way and leaves you feeling angry and frustrated? Let's fix that. Call Crown Networking. They've been helping people just like you and I make the best use of their time for the last 20 years. Now is the time for you to make the call. Here's the number in Tallahassee, 850-999-0090, 999-0090, or online at crownnetworking.com. Oh, and talk to them about getting you a new phone system, too. You know, it's time.
I'm Jimmy Facet with Facet Brooks Law Offices, and we believe you. Now, what does that mean? Over and over, we hear from the people we represent that when they shared their story of how they were injured with law enforcement, insurance companies, or business owners, they didn't believe our client's story. That's why you need an attorney that has your back no matter what. An attorney who starts by believing you're telling the truth. We are Facet Brooks, and we believe you. 850-777-7777.
At Paul's Termite and Pest Control, we know if you have something in your home that's not supposed to be there, you want it gone now.
Not in a couple of days, not tomorrow, but today. That's why we offer a same-day guarantee.
If you call Paul's before 12, one of our technicians will be out before 5. We guarantee it.
The health of you, your family, and your pets is why we promise to do everything possible to quickly resolve your problem.
And we do so using the safest chemicals. Notice a pest problem?
Call Paul's Termite and Pest Control before 12, and we're there before 5.
Call Paul's.
We'll get them all.
We're all spending more time at home than we ever have.
And our yards have become more than something we look at through the window. They are now a major part of our refuge.
Now that we're outside more, wouldn't it be great if we could eliminate the things that make us want to run back inside? Pests like mosquitoes and fire ants.
Paul's Pest Control can do just that, and we'll do it for a surprisingly low cost.
Our treatments are done outside. There is never a reason to enter your home.
The weather is beautiful, and now is the time to be outside.
Paul's Termite and Pest Control will help you take your yard back.
Call us for a free consultation.
Life is stressful. Dinner shouldn't be. That motto is why Register Sausage has been doing business in the Florida Panhandle and Lower Alabama for over 75 years. A proud sponsor of Seminole Headlines, Register Sausage always provides the best Southern smoked sausage to over 140 grocery stores and restaurants throughout the Southeast. Headliners have discovered the Register's difference. You can too. To find a store that carries Registers near you or to buy directly, head to registermeats.com. That's registermeats.com. Register Sausage. Yay, sausage!
Seminole Headlines returns now. Head to YouTube and search for Warchant TV today to catch the show live or on demand. Now, here's Jeff Cameron, Ira Schofel, and Corey Clark.
Real quick, by the way, several of you in asking questions commented that you hope my son Bryce did well with surgery. I'll update everybody so I don't have to read those parts of the questions, even though I appreciate the sentiments. He did fine. Surgery was a success, and now begins the, arduous rehab. So hopefully he'll be all right, but he's home safe and on a bunch of drugs. That's what he's on.
Feel better, Bryce.
Yeah. He's on
especially when they cut off the painkillers.
Man,
still feel better.
They gave him the good stuff, man. I'll just say that when he got out, I think he was in a lot of pain, and they gave him the morphine. I was like, ooh, that's when you know.
So you actually just put on some Floyd.
His eyes shut down. I was like, okay, we're going somewhere else. I should have done, the Dark Side of the Moon for my son. Marlon says, hello, gents. Ira, I'm with Jeff. These players quit on Mike. We're not going to get rid of Mike, but will Mike get rid of players? I think we all at various points this year, Marlon, pointed out that if you see a player on the field not giving his best effort, it's a huge mistake by Mike and anybody else not to pull said player. I think we all agree on that. And that's kind of what I was referencing in terms of maybe more blanket of a statement than I should have. But there have been examples this year where players were not giving their best and they got to go back out there. And that, I think, is a good way
not just go back out there, sometimes not leave the field.
Correct. And that is, you got to learn from that lesson, right? That's culture rot 101. You can't do that. And he did do that. And that was a huge mistake. I wonder, did he do it because he thought they'll come around, or I've seen him do it before, or I don't trust the kid behind him? But at some point, it's really not about whether or not you think the guy behind him will play better than him, just that he'll play hard at all. And I that's a huge mistake that Mike made this year. And we've seen other coaches do it. He's not alone, but that can't happen.
No, and I remember I talked to Brian McFadden, buddy of all of ours, at one point during the season, and that was his biggest complaint really about Adam Fuller. The defense in general was like, and again, not to compare everything to Mickey, everything Mickey Andrews did wasn't right, and everything everybody else does isn't wrong. But his point was, listen, man, it's your fault that he's taking you out of that game. Like you can't stay in there after you make some of the mistakes those guys make. If you just choose to not hit somebody or whatever it is, you come out of the game and he's going to put a backup in there knowing that backup's not as good as you, but that's the price you got to pay. And I'll put you back out there when I calm down or whatever it is, but I'm not going to let you just stay out there with no repercussions. And there's different ways to coach, but yeah, man, this clearly wasn't working, letting those guys just stay out there no matter what happened from play to play.
And it's not just defense, it's offense too. I mean, think about receivers not blocking ever on those screens. And I watched a 25-minute documentary on our man Brennan Marion, the OC at UNLV.
There's a 25-minute documentary on him?
It's something that like one of the Texas sites did, just about who he was when he became the wide receivers coach there. It was maybe a UNLV site because he was running UNLV's offense. But it was like the birth of the go-go offense. And in one of his mantras for his offense is, you show how much you love your teammates by how you play when you don't have the ball. And I'm like, that's something I know that's hippie stuff, but that's the stuff I get behind.
And Alex Atkins said stuff like that when they got here originally.
But you can't tell me those receivers that never block ever deserved. You quit running the play, number one, but quit running guys out there that just refuse to get in people's way. That's all.
I will tell you that D-Rob has said that. McFadden has said that. All three of us have said that. Anybody who's ever played or watched a lot of football tuned into our games and went, why is that dude back out there? And it is one of the great mysteries. I think people would like those kinds of answers from Mike. He's not going to tell you right now, but I would. I do wonder, why did he continue to play certain guys who were repeat offenders? They weren't guys that were upset down 30 in the second half of a game where maybe you're going through the motions. It happens. I don't like it, but it happens. They were guys who did it sometimes in practice, did it in a game, and got to go back out there. And we can't answer that for him. You don't know. I don't know. Corey doesn't know. I don't know.
What we do know is that it has to change.
It can never happen. No. It can never happen. And I think he has to regret it. I mean, he has to. What do we think about – Mike wants some betting advice here, guys. What do we think about the line of 33.5 and a total of 44? Do you see any way possible that we score this many points? Yeah, man, I do. I think that look, you're right. This has been so bad that it's within the realm of possibility that we're watching bizarro football and it's 17-0 in the third quarter. And we're like, really, this is happening? But honestly, I think to Ira's point, this is a terrible Charleston Southern team, just as this is a terrible Florida State team, but there's a difference in the division that they play in and also the caliber of athletes that they recruit. You could accidentally win this game by 30.
Yeah.
You could line up classic double tight, I formation, hand the ball off, run a veer, run a dive, run a screen pass here and there, and maybe score 38 points.
Yeah, I'm not going to give you betting advice about Florida State football games, but I would say this, there haven't been many times where I would have told you, no, don't bet the other team. This is why I'm not saying you should bet on the Noles, but I would not advise you to bet on Charleston Southern in this game.
It's also Charleston Southern's their last game of the year, which is crazy. So they finished with Florida State, which is a nuts scheduling schedule there for them. So you wonder how invested and motivated those kids are to theoretically come get their teeth kicked in after already playing 11 games of college football. But, it's also their Super Bowl against this 1-9 juggernaut.
It is some Super Bowl.
Bob writes, what's up, men of Warchant? Could bowl games mean more this year because players will not opt out so that they can get paid next year? If so, maybe it's good the Noles aren't bowling because the new coaches can watch other teams' players to recruit. He goes on to say, I remember it was never good not to go bowling, and it used to make us all mad if you didn't get invited to a top-tier bowl. It's so sad now. Well wishes to all your families.
Oh,
Thanks,
that's
Bob.
sweet. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't
think anything's changed on that front. I think kids are going to opt out all over the country. I don't think the NIL payment has anything to do with if they play in a bowl or not, right?
I'd like bowls to matter again.
But good luck.
They never will, but
yeah.
I'd like them to.
Yeah,
I'd like coaches to stop making millions of dollars in an amateur sport, but that's not that genie is out of the bottle.
Not an amateur sport anymore. Has
I know
been for a long time. I do think we have had this conversation, and we did it in the first hour. I think ADs and presidents are going to be a little bit more careful moving forward about extensions.
We'll see, man. It'll be the first time ever.
It will
hopefully
be.
Hopefully it will happen.
It would be.
We'll see with these OC and DC contracts if they've learned their lesson. I'm guessing they haven't.
Well, I mean, if you're talking about ROC and DC, they're going to have to pay up to get anybody to come in here.
I know. And you're going to have to give them a multi-year deal.
Yeah.
Even though you might be firing your head coach after he loses to Charleston Southern.
Yeah, but that is not the same thing as giving guys extensions who nobody else wanted.
Yeah.
And or extending a coach. Anyhow, we're not doing that, but you're right. We may see it though. In your combined years covering sports, have you experienced more of a mirage moment than the opening drive against Georgia Tech? We were all three together right there in Ireland, sitting right next to each other. What a drive.
You know what the closest thing and it was a much different level, when the basketball team, it was like the year after they won the ACC, I think, when they brought in that freshman class with Devin Booker and Monte Brandon and all those guys. Mm-hmm. And they went up. We were at the paper, Corey, and I went up to Brooklyn to cover them in some Brooklyn basketball.
Oh, that's right. That tournament.
Yeah. And they won it, and they looked good. And I was like, man, Leonard's got this thing on lock.
They are humming in this bitch.
And then that class never won anything their entire times in Florida State.
I forgot about the Brooklyn. Didn't Tim Linnefeld go to that with you?
He might have.
I think he did, or he certainly was up there.
I do remember that though. Like I think that would have been Snare's last year. And you're like, oh, yeah, it was Snare, and I think Akara White maybe was – no, maybe he's already gone.
I think
you're like, oh, they got the two veteran scorers. They got all these great four-star recruits. This is
– like here, boys.
We're covering Kansas. And didn't quite work out.
Next 4 years were not great.
Snake draft. Each person gets to pick a former Nole. QB 1, running back 1, wide receiver 1. The kicker is you cannot choose the Heisman winners, and you cannot choose Warwick Dunn or Dalvin Cook or Peter Warwick.
Oh, I mean, what's with all the rules, man?
Yeah.
Got enough rules in my life.
That is from Ward Winky Winston. That's his title. So he says we cannot. So who's your QB1 if you're not allowed to have if you're not allowed to have Heisman winners?
You know, my first indicate, I would say I'm going to go Christian Ponder.
I'm going to go Casey, but knowing that you guys know way better than I do.
I've always had an affinity for the great Peter Tom Willis.
PT is my guy. I like PT.
I just wanted somebody a little more mobility.
I understand.
That's why I went with Ponder. In this day and age.
Mobility. Casey in this era?
Casey did.
Yeah, Casey could move. So what about now, Jeff? You go back again. It's a snake draft, right? Doesn't that mean you just
double down?
Yeah, you have to make 2 picks in a row.
Well, this is just going to be a sentimental pick because I'm going to take I'm going to take Greg Jones because I'm going to assume we can block.
All right.
And that's a grown-ass man running bitches over.
That's fair.
I'm setting the tone out here.
But he's got to take 2 in a row?
No, sorry. He just took 2 in a row.
Okay, and then what's the who can't we take?
You can't take Warwick Dunn, Dalvin Cook, or Peter Warwick.
Or Heisman winners.
All right.
So who's the receiver you're taking? Well, you take whoever you want to take.
I thought, are we stuck on RBs or we can?
No, you can do a wide receiver. You can do running back or a wide receiver.
Man. I might take Sammy Smith.
I like Sammy. That's a good call. I thought about Sammy there. Good call. Corey?
Okay, my running back will be Cam Akers. My wide receiver.
He deserved better. That's fair.
My wide receiver would be Darian
Probably
Williamson.
Tate, right? You thought Tate was going to be the next guy. You want to take Tate?
No, I said Darian Williamson.
I thought you wanted Tate for sure.
By the way, Darian Williamson, about a 70-yard bomb today.
Let's go, D-Will. Let's go.
Observations, boys.
My wide receiver would be Kelvin Benjamin, by the way.
I like the pick, but you got to ensure he's going to try.
You're taking Kelvin over Rashad? You said
Yeah, just for one season.
You told us for years and years and years that Rashad might be.
Kelvin was the guy when he cared and was in shape.
Hey, by the way, since I'm also setting tones here, I'm taking Lawrence Dossie because nobody blocked like Lawrence Dossie.
There you go. Nice.
Lawrence was a dude.
Well, if you're going to leave Rashad, I'm going to take Rashad.
There you go.
We did it. I win.
Grossly underrated Rashad.
Yeah.
That's fair. And on that note, Seminole Headlines continues in a moment. 93.3 Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV.
This is meteorologist Paul Trombley with your Real Talk 93.3 weather update. Overcast this afternoon with showers likely. High temperatures reach up to 77. Winds out of the south, 8 to 15 miles per hour. Cloudy skies expected tonight. Showers likely. Lows dip down to about 69. Slight chance for showers tomorrow. Highs around 77. This report is brought to you by the Lawn Johns. For all your landscaping and lawn care needs, visit thelawnjohns.com. Right now, 76.
This is Alex from Farmers. Are you looking for that hard-to-find person on your Christmas list? At Farmers, we are loaded down with one-of-a-kind items. Vintage guitars, pre-owned tools, electronics. Did you know we carry Louis Vuitton purses, bags, and wallets? Farmers has a large selection of new and pre-owned firearms. And don't forget about our large selection of gold and silver jewelry, all discounted at 50% off. At Farmers, we make your dollars go further. Shop early for the best selection, and don't forget to ask about our great layaway plan. Farmers Pawn, 2 times more than you might expect, with 2 great locations. This is Alex from Farmers. We've been buying gold and silver jewelry, fine watches, and other collectibles for over 45 years. But did you know Farmers buys and sells gold and silver coins, bars, and bullion? Don't get scammed online or pay high shipping and handling fees. Call or stop by Farmers for a quick and easy quote. No matter if you're new to investing in bullion or have been collecting a lifetime, Farmers is your local source for buying, selling gold and silver coins and bullion. Farmers, more than you might expect, with 2 great locations.
Theory, tell me a joke. The first song I tried to write was about a tortilla, but it turned into a rap.
All jokes aside, the trained professionals at Mac & More Systems are serious about Apple products. For all your Mac repairs, call Mac & More Systems at 894-3622. 894-3622.
Leaky faucet, busted pipes, clogged toilet? M&L Plumbing is here for you. For all commercial, construction, and residential plumbing issues, call M&L Plumbing at 575-9393 or visit online at mnlplumbing.com.
Retired or retiring soon? How much money do you need to live comfortably? Retirement Planners of America is here for you. Would you like to have financial peace of mind? Here's how. Step 1. Find out the amount of money you'll need to retire. Step 2. Have a plan to get there. Step 3. Make sure that plan can take advantage of market gains but protect you from market losses. Discover how to do all 3 with a free consultation at 800-508-6108. That's 800-508-6108.
All investments involve risk, including losses. Past performance does not guarantee future results.
Oh no, my phone.
Hear that? It's the sound of a skater dropping her phone and smashing it on the ice. Yep, it's definitely broken. But at Verizon, we got you. Black Friday starts now. Trade in any phone, any condition from one of our top brands and get a new Samsung Galaxy S24 Plus on Unlimited Ultimate and Watch 7 and Tab S9 FE 5G. That's up to $1,900 in value. So you'll save big on 3 great gifts. Hurry into Verizon this Black Friday. Service plan required for Watch and Tab. Up to $1,900 value based on phone, watch, and tablet. Trade in and additional terms apply. See Verizon.com for details.
Life is stressful. Dinner shouldn't be. That motto is why Register Sausage has been doing business in the Florida Panhandle and Lower Alabama for over 75 years. A proud sponsor of Seminole Headlines, Register Sausage always provides the best Southern smoked sausage to over 140 grocery stores and restaurants throughout the Southeast. Headliners have discovered the Register's difference. You can too. To find a store that carries Registers near you or to buy directly, head to registermeats.com. That's registermeats.com. Register Sausage. Yay, sausage!
Seminole Headlines returns now. Head to YouTube and search for Warchant TV today to catch the show live or on demand. Now, here's Jeff Cameron, Ira Schofel, and Corey Clark.
Ira and I got carried away with conversation.
I don't know what you heard to made you realize it.
Buddy, years in radio.
Corey, 7 seconds ago, Jeff was standing right next to me over here.
having a
And then
conversation.
Sprint over there. And we can't hear you either, Corey. You're muted.
You muted yourself. Get it together.
I'm good now.
Shaky performances abound. Here we go. More questions. Let's
real
get
quick
to them.
in the chat. A lot of people brought up Fred Biletnikoff. Maybe should have gotten mentioned, and also Anquan Bolden. Good choice as well.
Great choice with Anquan Bolden.
If Anquan had been healthy his whole time here, I think that would have been a no-brainer. But he was.
Still
coming
bad.
back from the ACL that last year.
He was a blocker. He'd have blocked people.
Threw that perfect pass.
Oh,
I mean, just right there. Talman Gardner dropped it. I'm still bothered by it. That was against your Bulldogs there, Corey.
That was the best moment in Georgia history until Kirby came calling.
I think you guys won a national title before that.
Nobody remembers that, Ira.
That's true. Robert writes, gentlemen, rank your top 3 college football entrances, not named FSU. His example is he really likes Virginia Tech's Enter Sandman, the whole deal there. South Carolina's got a good one, too.
What do they do? They release the chickens?
That cock gets loud, buddy. It's awesome. And you hear it echo throughout. Yeah, it's pretty cool. I like it. Let's like it. No, it's solid. What's Wisconsin's entrance? I know what they do at the start of the fourth quarter with the hoppity hop and all that.
I don't think
That's
they have
cool.
one. I don't think they have one.
Georgia,
they have a guy. Georgia they don't have an entrance. They have a dude that plays a flute from the upper deck. I mean, here's the thing. Other than Virginia Tech, Enter Sandman, and Florida State, what other ones are there? Like Florida State has cornered the market on awesome entrances.
I mean, Ralphie's pretty cool.
Yeah, you're right. There's a
pretty
Buffalo.
Cool. The Buffalo running around the field.
Yeah. They should run out with Bevo at Texas, but he could kill somebody.
Yeah, and then the Boomers.
So could Ralphie.
Whatever it's called.
Yeah, but that's not.
That's stupid. That's a wagon.
But the time where it ate it was awesome.
Oh, it was awesome. People went flying.
Yeah.
I've often wanted to see it. I've been to, 10 Oklahoma games in my life. And, I've always kind of secretly rooted for them to take the
They should do that once a year. Like, you don't know which game it's going to be, but one of the games is going to be the intentional pratfall, the schooner. People go flying. The horses fall down. They get back up. No animals are injured, but cheerleaders are.
Flying is really good. If you go back and watch that one dude's whole.
Oh, yeah.
He knows. I'm done. I'm flying off this bad boy. Florida State's is still the best. It's incredible. All right, next question. If you could, we can't do it, guys. We cannot. And this is not ignoring anything, but we can't point to one issue. He wants to know one issue that, if addressed in the offseason, would result in a winning season. What you got? Corey's going to say quarterback.
Offensive line or quarterback, either one of those. Fix one or both of those.
Fix the offensive line for sure. And I know you need a quarterback but you can be average at quarterback if you have a great offensive line.
And that's my point about this season. And
you can be average at offensive line if you have a great quarterback.
For sure, but I just where everything went down to hell with this team was the offensive line not being able to run the ball. Because once you couldn't do that, the decision to sign DJ looks ridiculous, and everything just fell apart. If they could have run the ball, the season would not have gone this way, I don't think.
Can we go ahead and assume next year they're not going to have a great offensive line? So go get yourself a badass quarterback. Just see what it looks like. You went 13-0 with not a great offensive line in a really good quarterback.
It either has to be somebody that can move around or somebody that makes quick decisions, and you have an offense where you get the ball out of their hands quickly. This dropping these guys back to diagnose the field with that offensive line, it's just, man, what are we doing here?
I still go back to I get it, Corey. Everybody wants a quarterback. You need a quarterback. We all do. But golly, give me a great offensive line and just a quarterback that can process information.
I guess
do the math.
Corey's point is that's probably off the table. You're not going to have a great offensive line.
It's also a lot more dudes you have to get. That's like 5 or 6 guys you have to convince to come as opposed to one. It just seems like the easier fix is the quarterback.
Oh, we also had a
chat
contribution chat.
I missed it.
Cody Johnson asked, did Mike lose the team when he flirted with Alabama?
I think he legitimately lost the team when they all went to the NFL. That's when he lost the spirit, the makeup of that team.
Yeah.
The people that bring it up, and I get the idea, the concept is that, you got snubbed for Alabama and now you're seen as flirting with Alabama. I don't think the player saw that way. I don't think it was seen as he's like putting himself out there for that job.
If you're sought after for probably the most storied position in college football,
to replace Nick Saban.
Yeah, he's not going to entertain it? Not going to listen?
I understand why you'd want that, but I don't think that was it.
I wouldn't have entertained it.
Corey's too loyal.
Yeah, I think you would have, because your agent would have been damn sure you did.
I would have told my agent he works for me, and I'm staying at Florida State.
I don't think you would have said that, given the circumstances.
Bill Simmons could throw any amount of money at Corey. He ain't leaving.
He's not leaving.
Or,
This is my place. You guys are my dogs. I'm not going to leave you guys behind.
I think you're going to listen. You may not take it. You may know 99.9% you're not leaving, but you're going to listen. And you damn sure should.
Yeah.
You should listen.
But I would tell you two guys, oh, no, I turned that down. I never seriously thought about it. I assume that's what Norvell told the players. I wasn't going to Alabama. Are you crazy? Not when I got this thing rolling. In hindsight, he probably wishes he had gone to Alabama, gang.
I was going to say, if he was legitimately offered the job, he should have taken the Alabama job.
He should call him back.
Gracious. Especially just for the money, meaning not to him, but what they have to work with. Anybody in the Big Ten or the SEC, right?
And a quarterback. He's got Jalen Milroe as opposed to DJ.
Oh man!
But I don't begrudge anybody to listen. I've listened. Jeff's listened. Corey's listened.
You got to listen.
Corey listened to me trying to bring him to Warchant. He kept turning us down when he was.
That's right. That's right, Ira. Because you know what? I'm loyal until I saw where the newspaper. Until I wasn't. You're right.
I was gonna say, it's going down the wrong path there, Corey. You need to listen to this.
I guess I did end up going to Warchant, didn't I? So I can't really say much.
Okay, gentlemen, what chance do we see some grit in the last two games from this team?
Like to see that? You'd like to see that?
I'd love to see
grit?
Corey, you've been at practice. I mean, Ira, you've been at practice. I have not. I wouldn't go. You'd have to. No, I'm not going to practice. But you are at practice. Right. Are they showing any grit?
I mean, it's hard to tell at practice, buddy.
Grit,
I would say this, that there's not. It's not a backhanded compliment, but you wouldn't know that there was some changes made. I mean, they're still, but they've never practiced bad. John Papuch just talked about that today. It's never like, even when they were, now I would say the few days leading up to Notre Dame, I was not really impressed.
Yeah.
But for the most part, this team has practiced. Like, they practiced. They're not very good.
Well, that's good. They are practicing.
Yeah.
It's hard to tell sometimes.
I tried to warn my family when we were entering into the stadium there at Notre Dame that it was going to be ugly. I wish I had talked to you prior, so you could have said, by the way, Jeff, I know you already know it's going to be ugly, but I was at practice this week, and it's going to be worse than you think.
Those practices were not the best. So
that's it. That's all, boys. We don't have any more questions. We got like 45 seconds.
Well, we might have more questions, but we're not going to address them.
It's been a long year of questions.
Yeah. Without real good answers.
No real good answers from that staff. I don't know that we can solve these.
Let me ask you this real quick.
Yeah.
Are there going to be the changes that he makes on the coaching staff and the portal acquisitions they make and the players they get rid of? What are the possibilities we're going to go into spring excited?
I don't think they can get any worse. So by definition, I'll be a little bit more excited, but also we're going to have to document a crazy post-mortem of this season, which is going to, I think, almost just define the way we view the next thing, right? Like, okay, well, on to the next. We've talked about this. We've analyzed this. Now I really am curious. Can he? I don't know that he can salvage it. I don't know that he can save it. Don't know that he can.
We don't know.
We just don't know.
Corey,
So
any chance they're going to go into the spring pretty excited?
As opposed to where I am now?
I mean, just in general, like not dreading the spring. But like thinking, okay, man, I'm going to see what this looks like.
Well, look, man, I'm a pro. I'm a pro. I never dread the spring. This is my job. This is what I do. I live for this. But yeah, I'll be excited depending on.
I did it for Ira. You're out of here, and that is it. That's all. Goodbye, Ira. Goodbye, Corey. We love you, buddy. You can sign off. That's the end of it.